Mm. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Professor Chen.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Busy on the net.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let me take my. I'm saying my YouTube over again.
Yeah, please continue.
That's what happens when I. That's what happens when I put on my YouTube at the same time. It gets confusing for me because I gotta pick different screens, and sometimes I forget to change the screen, leave the YouTube on, and then I get the same repeat of what I just said. So it
Okay.
takes a little
Yes.
coordination. So what you been doing? Working? Let's see. Today, yeah, it's work week. Yeah, it's work. The
Yeah,
work in the middle of the work week, and I guess
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
start. You started again after Christmas, right?
Yes. Today, one case was a posterior fossa tumor. It turned out to be a dermoid. All hair and epidermoid, fat, everything was there inside. It was
Okay.
interesting case. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Uh, yeah. Okay. We'll get more people as we go along. Uh, People tend to come later and later.
Sure. Yeah, we will wait for 5, 10 minutes.
Yeah. There's no hurry.
Yeah. Anyway, like today's lecture won't be that long as of yesterday's. So we
Okay.
should be able
Whatever.
to finish
Whatever
within
you want.
time.
Sure, you
Yeah.
can go as long as, well, I have another webcast. I don't have another webcast till for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So I have one from Russia and we have lots of time. So, or take as much as you want, little or much as you want.
Okay.
My screen here. Yeah, why don't we just start?
Okay, we
Yeah,
will start.
because as I said, the value in this is the recording that people can watch all together. And like I said, I put the YouTube link because it makes it easier for people to watch, but they don't come in the webinar. Do you know what I
True.
mean? The Zoom link I give, they go right to the YouTube. So the numbers are misleading. There's probably people watching this on YouTube that we don't even know about. Anyways, well, let's make a good recording. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning. This is Dr. John Bennett reporting from beautiful Miami Beach. Post-Christmas, the streets are empty. Right now here in Miami Beach, it's 6:30. I know in Mumbai, it's 6:30. We are honored to have the presence of Bushnan Bromby, a neurosurgeon from Mumbai, who is taking, well, he hasn't taken a liking to it. He's been doing this since he's 10 years old. He's been studying uh, computers. Even before medicine, I believe he had that interest. So we welcome him on part 2 of a series. Welcome. It's all yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor John. So today is a day 2 of our series of total day 3 days. And today we will be building upon our yesterday's lecture, and we will see how we can utilize the AI related algorithms what we learned yesterday, and I will show you today how I applied it in one of the project I did for my MCH as a thesis project. So the title is Revolutionizing Brain Tumor Diagnosis and Insight into Convolutional Neural Network Models Efficacy in Central Nervous Tumor Analysis with Squamous Cytology. So I did this project with my guide, Dr. A.R. Prabhudas sir, who is a professor in neurosurgery at NIMANS, Bangalore, and Dr. B.N. Nandishar, who is a professor in neuropathology at the same institute. I went with this crazy idea to my professor, and as a first year student of neurosurgery, it was amazing that he agreed and allowed me to do this project. So I'm grateful for him for that. So first of all, we will try to understand why we tried to do it. As you know from our yesterday's lecture, uh, this is a practical use of studies which we have learned, like this convolutional neural network model, what we learned yesterday, we will try to implement that in a clinical practice during the surgery itself. So that was our goal. So first of all, we will first understand few of the basics, like as everybody knows, the malignancy accounts, CNS malignancy accounts for nearly 1.3 to 2% of all tumors of human body. Somewhere it's also reported as a 2.5, reports varied. Uh, but as you can see on the right side, this is a squash images which was first introduced by Ezinart and Cushing in 1930s. And although these are just smears which are produced by simple tissue of tumor which was sprayed across and slide and just prepared with two solutions of alcohol and ENE stain, we can see and achieve an amazing accuracy of around 96 to 76 to 96% just based on this simple smear without requiring any histopathological diagnosis. So that is the beauty of this method. As you can see on the right side, the upper images are the low resolution images of a low grade and high grade gliomas respectively. And the lower images, you can see a high grade magnification of the same image. So currently, typically, while performing either frozen or a squash smear and getting a diagnosis, once the tissue is obtained from the tumor during surgery, it takes nearly about 30 to 45 minutes, particularly at our center, to get a squash diagnosis. But at some centers, like in second and third tier cities, it might even take more time. I have spoken to few surgeons and discussed with them like how much time it take at their centers. I have came to a amazing discovery that it can take between 2 to 6 years, 6 hours also at some centers, because they have to send the sample to another center where the neuropathologist is available and then get the report. So there are few solutions to that. And majority of the time during emergencies, neuropathologists may not be available with you. So you need that kind of diagnosis. So there produce the need to have a 24/7 reporting system for intraoperatively obtained squash smear and get a diagnosis there and there itself. Although there are many proposed solutions for that, like you can have an extra lab within your OT itself to reduce that communication time. But we proposed another solution where even if the neuropathologists are not available or if there is an emergency, we should be able to do that. So we tried to test the feasibility of AI vision model, particularly the convolutional neural network model, to differentiate between tumors based on these squash smears. So how we did it and how we propose to do it. There are many studies now published which have been doing this smear pathologies, like for pap smears and the breast FNAC, and similar techniques can be applied there itself. The first thing was that we have to choose what kind of tumor we are going to evaluate. Many malignancies like schwannomas, pituitary adenomas, or meningiomas, neuropathologists are able to diagnose those pathology just based on squash with approximately 100% accuracy. But that is not true in terms of glioma, because in gliomas, that accuracy can reduce and there is a discordance between the squash report and the final histopathology report. In high-grade glioma, that can be between 90 to 96%. And for low-grade glioma, it can come down as low as 70-75%. So that's why we chose glioma, because it will give you this concept of, or a proof of concept, that even if it is able to diagnose these difficult to diagnose tumors on squash, it will be able to diagnose other kind of tumor easily. So the steps involved were to build a database first, which will be our ground truth. And then that database is fed into our convolutional neural network model, which was built, as I will show you afterward, which was trained on this database. As I told you yesterday, it is a supervised learning model based on CNN, which is a deep learning architecture or algorithm. So the first step was to collect the data, and as you go forward, and if you want to apply these methods to your project itself, you will often understand the most difficult part is not the actual training or the building of the database, because those parts are standardized. But what is not standardized is how the data is collected and how the images are acquisitioned. So with the help of our neuropathology department, we collected nearly 500 slides of squash smears which were obtained during the surgery from duration of June 2017 to 2018. And from these single slides, we took multiple parts of the images, which were then analyzed to get you the report. As you can see on the left side, once the images were obtained, we selected nearly 10,000 images from that, which were then randomized into 3 data sets of training data set, one validation data set, and one testing data set. In the training data set, we had nearly 6,000 images as offered, and validation and testing data set 2,000 respectively in each. So what is the training data set? Training data set is something on which the model is actually built on. As you can, as we have seen yesterday, these are the labels, that is the output. What is the expected output is fed into the model, and we ask the model to find the errors between its answer and the actual answers, and those errors are then corrected based on the back propagation, as we have seen yesterday. So these are the only image data set, that is the 6,000 images on which the training is done. But during the training also, we need to validate our results, whether the training is progressing in our proposed way or not. So for that, we will be using that validation data set, and we will get results on those also and check whether our training is progressing in a normal fashion or not. Those images, although they are not used for the training, but those were used in between the training to get a report on our training parameters. Now the final results or the testing phase comes afterward, after the training. Once the training is done, this testing data set or these images were then exposed to the model, and we asked it to collect the output directly, and then those are compared with the ground truth, that is the final histopathology report. So finally, the crux of the model or the performance of the models is tested on this testing data set, not on the training or validation data set. As you can see on the images on the right side, this is the actual image what was captured from from a microscope, but that is not the image what actually goes into the model. There is a lot of image pre-processing which is standardized for all the images, which is performed for all these 10,000 images before they are fed into the model. So as you can see on the right side, this is our convolutional neural network model. As I have shown you yesterday, there are different levels of model. And you can see here, there are a lot of parameters, like 150 by 150 is the image dimensions. And then of those 64 layers of images we have done, that is the single convolutional neural network model. Similarly, we have a block 1 convolutional network model and so on forward. This is then the image process. The first layer will be 150 by 150 into 3. That is 3 means the, as we have seen, the RBG colors of the image. The model itself is built based on VGG90 and then modified. This few last 4-5 layers are added on top of that to get an result for our proper diagnosis of gliomas of high grade and low grade glioma. As you can see, a total of nearly 28 to 29 million parameters on a single image is analyzed in this network. And that's why the accuracy of the model increases significantly. Also, once the number of layers increases, the training phase also goes on increasing, and we require higher and higher machineries to train that data on. This model, which I have built, is then trained on a workstation which was based on 16 GB RAM of NVIDIA RTX 2060 chip, and was trained for over 100 epochs. I will show you why it was trained for the 100 epochs now. So now coming to the results, what we have found actually during the results. So during the training phase, we have identified that, as you can see in this blue line, that represents a training line, and the yellow or orange light represents the validation line. The two data sets which I have shown before, these are the lines for those things. As you can see, the loss, which is a mean squared error, goes on decreasing, and it drastically decreased from nearly 1 to less than 0.2 in first 20 epochs. And then over a period of next 80 epochs, it decreases slowly to come just below the 0.1. So the loss is decreasing slowly. This kind of model, although we have trained it on a lot of models, this is the one model which was able to perform the best. So we have chose that for further processing. Now, as on the right side, you can see the similar for the accuracies goes on increasing as the loss goes down. Similarly, you can see the blue line and the orange line, the accuracies goes on increasing, and we got an accuracy on training set of nearly 96.2%. That is 96% of the time it is favorably and correctly identifying whether this tumor is a low-grade tumor or a high-grade tumor. And for the validation data set, which was used during the training, we get an accuracy of 96.39%. But you should understand there are a lot of things which are going behind the scenes during programming, because this is not a one-shot solution. We have to do a lot of things to achieve these results. As I have shown you before, there are something called as a learning rate regularization. There is something called as overfitting. What overfitting means is that the as we are just as the number of parameters of the model goes on increasing, it increases the memory or memorization capacity of the model. So as the number of layers increases, it can simply remember the models or images and give you the output rather than actually learning to know the parameters. So we have to use something different methods like dropouts. Like we will give it some partial information to get the results on like that, and we'll try to get the results out of it. So this everything goes beyond behind the scene, which if possible, and we are able to do a series on that, we will be able to learn that how to do that. There is also something called as a hyperparameter tuning. As you can see in this model, there are multiple parameters which goes on, like how many layers are there at the output, how much dropouts you are applying, like how many images or how many parts of the image you are able to hide, like that. So all these things goes into hyperparameter tuning, and by combination of all these methods, we have to get to that result. So now coming to the testing phase, these are the testing results which we have obtained based on the testing data set, that is the 2000 images, and it has came very impressive and proven our point that we can get to the results what we obtain. As you can see on the left side, this is a confusion matrix which tells you whether the predicted label are true as that of the true label. So as you can see, for the low-grade glioma, we can achieve an accuracy of up to 77%. And for the high-grade glioma, it goes up to 91%. So it's as good as a human neuropathologist can do, which is proven by other studies. So, and on the right side, you can see the positive predictive value and negative predictive value is almost 86 and 83% respectively. So this tells you that this model is, although it is very simple model, is able to perform a lot of things of its own. So the next step is whether the model itself is able to perform nicely or not. So there is something called as a precision mean, which is measured in terms of F1 score for the model. This tells if it is above 0.7, it is considered a good or nicely trained model. So as you can see, the F1 score for this model has came to be 0.887. So it is a fairly trained model, and we can assume that whatever methods we applied are nice. So yesterday we saw like actually whatever the images are seen by the model are not in the form of actual image. They are in terms of a binary 0 1, and in between the layers whatever happening we don't know. We just know the output. Like as you can see here, if the image is fade, we came to know that whether it's a high grade glioma or low grade glioma, but we actually don't know based on what parameters those results are obtained. That's why many of these deep learning models are called as a black boxes, because we don't know what is going behind the mind of the CNN models. So there is some ways to identify what is happening and what parameters of the images are given importance to. So there is a one technique called as a feature visualization. So in this technique, we interpret or the results in between the layers. Like as you can see in this model, we interpret the layers in between, like not the final output, that is the final dense one output. We don't identify that, but we interpret the layers in between, like say block 4 or block 5, and we try to understand what part of the images are given importance to. And as you can see here, on the right side of the image, this is the superimposed image on the actual image. And you can see that the blank areas is ignored, some cells are ignored, and some parts like mitosis and all are given more importance to while giving the diagnosis of high-grade glioma for this image. So how this can be utilized? Like many times, what happens? The neuropathologist has to screen thousands of images for getting a particular diagnosis. So we can utilize this thing to screen thousands of images in a one go and get and show the neuropathologist that these regions are the important for the diagnosis. So this might be the most important slide of this presentation. So actually what patients get benefited from this? As you can see, if there is a normal day, we, while operating, obtain some part of the tissue, then somebody has to collect that tissue and send it to a neuropathology lab. The neuropathologist stains it, prepare it, analyzes it, and then gives it the report and conveys it to the surgeon. This at our center nearly takes around 30 to 35 minutes. And this, due to this time, the repeatability of this system is not that we might repeat for 1 or 2 times maybe, but more than that, we cannot repeat this. So by using this technique, the reporting can be done in just less than 4 to 5 minutes. And we can repeat it as many times as possible. So this opens a whole new scenario while performing the surgeries. As you can know, the tumor can go into crevices and lot of normal brain or tissue can get infiltrated. So we can use this technique to for the tumor age clearances and get tissues from different parts of the ages and identify whether this part is cleared from the tissue or not. The another important uses might be during the STB tissue conformation, because the tissue obtained during this biopsy procedures are so small that we don't know whether actually the report is there or not till we get the final report. So we can confirm the whether the tissue is a brain tissue or the tumor tissue with this technique and avoid the dreaded negative biopsies which are performed many a time or we get when the STB tissue turns out to be a normal brain tissue rather than a tumor tissue. So all these things can be avoided if we apply this technique. The second thing is that there are a lot of limitations in this current model, because although it is able to prove that we can achieve a human level accuracy in the low grade and high grade gliomas, this is still not a generalized model and it is not able to identify other parts of the tumor. For that, we need to build a newer data set which is big enough and has enough data from other tumors like schwannomas, meningiomas, pituitary microadenomas, and a whole lot of things like lymphomas. And once that data is big enough, then we can train the same model again, which second times training will take a lot less time to give us similar results. The second thing is that we need to have a digital microscope with a digital camera attached to it to inside the OT. Although the preparation time is very less, this automation, if we apply it during this process, the reporting can come down to less than 5 minutes also. So what are the future steps which we might be able to take to expand this model? So as I said, we can have a different types of tumor tissues, build a database on that, and we can be able to build a single model to perform all this diagnosis by itself. Secondly, we might have some kind of mechanics which helps you prepare the slides there and there itself in OT rather than to go to preparing it manually. So that can reduce the timing from 5 minutes to less than 3 or 2 minutes also. The second thing is the cost of technology. Although, as you have noted, the training was done on a high-end computer and it requires a lot of power to perform training. But that is not true for the diagnostic. Once the tumor or once the model is trained, the diagnosis part, that is the newer images, providing the newer images and getting the diagnosis from it is not that difficult, and we can do it on simple laptops which are available in day-to-day life, and the cost of it reduces significantly. The second thing is that the actual diagnostic time which is done is less than 20 milliseconds. So that opens a new horizon of methods. As Professor John asked me yesterday, whether we can do it in real time. So yes, we can do it in real time. And methods nowadays methods are there like confocal microscopy or Raman microscopy, which can be deployed, and they are able to obtain obtain the images of the tumor there or brain tissue there and there itself, and we can get a superimposed image with this model, whether the tissue in front of you is whether it is a high-grade glioma, low-grade glioma, or a different kind of tumor. So that's going to be fantastic things once we go forward. So in conclusion, we with this model, we have proved that AI can reliably diagnose CNS tumor cytology with human comparable accuracy on our standardized database, and the need for the further research and larger database is emphasized. For that, there is no other way than to collaborate with other hospitals, because although it might work at our center, it might not work at other centers. For that, we need to have a lot of images from different centers to build a generalized model on that. So if anybody is here and want to collaborate, anybody is welcome to join us. So that was for the today's talk to how to implement a simple case study for whatever we learned yesterday. So if anybody has some questions, free to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Ahmad, are you there? We just arrived here. Yeah, I just caught the last part.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ahmad. Welcome.
Okay. Hello, greetings. Thank you, Professor Bhushan.
Yes.
Excellent presentation like yesterday, and we learned a lot of new things about, and we are looking for the possibility of an actual field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I didn't, I don't,
Thank you, Professor John.
yeah, I don't know if I understood you correctly, but so the neurosurgeon will be in the field and looking at some possible tumor. He'll be able to diagnose it immediately. Is that what you were saying? I don't know if I understood that correctly.
So generally what happens, we have to send a small tissue for diagnosis, either frozen or squash during the surgery, to identify whether what kind of tumors we are dealing with, which will determine a lot of things during the surgery, like what extent of procedure we have to perform, and what kind of surgeries or whether we can leave some part of it, and a lot of decisions goes on, and whether the part of the age of the tumor is cleared or not. So those kind of questions can be answered with this technique. So, and as I said, if we apply that to answer your yesterday's question, if we apply those techniques with real-time microscopy, such as confocal microscopy, we can superimpose our images directly on the microscope. So it can become a really good thing.
Yeah, to compare. Okay, I see. So there's a lot that's going to go on in the future.
Yes.
Developing certain areas, but that's yeah. So cool. Go ahead. Does anybody have a comment or question? Go ahead, Ahmad. Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe Ahmad just has a audio thing. Let me just.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Ahmad. I'm sorry, I muted you accidentally. Ahmad, I'm sorry, I muted you. Or perhaps he was okay. Well, very good. And as I said, let me get that off the screen share. Here. I'm sharing the screen, huh? No, I'm not. Okay. Okay, okay, I'm trying to get off my screen here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, some exciting things are coming. And like I said before the telecast began, the main value of this webinar this morning is to put it on tape put it on internet, put it on the Neurosurgical TV archive, so that the 3 webcasts that are being done, that Bhushan is doing, one yesterday, today's, and next Tuesday. We're gonna have it next Tuesday. Bhushan has some surgery tomorrow, so he won't be available, but we're gonna do it Thursday. Excuse me, Tuesday at the same time, 6:30. And for me, I learn things when I watch videos over and over. I don't learn them from the first time. And valuable teaching like this, for me, I need to see it a couple of times just to get an idea of what's going on. But we look forward to a continuing relationship with Bhushan, because as everyone knows, artificial intelligence is not going to go away. It's going to get stronger. It's making technology stronger, not necessarily the program or whatever, but it's making everything powerful. And sometimes I don't understand exactly how, but look at all the devices you see on the internet that says that AI has breathed new energy, more or less, into any kind of field of study. Okay, Bhushan, before we close, do you have any parting comments?
Yeah, so we might, if there is some demand, we can identify some further lectures. Like if anybody is interested in learning how to program their own models, I'll be more than happy to tell them or guide them how to do that. So if anybody is there who wants to contact, please feel free to contact me on my LinkedIn or on my email.
Yeah, so neurosurgeons or someone in the community can learn the actual programming behind AI, or programming on how to build AI programs. What exactly do you mean?
So both, because we have to learn from the basics first. Maybe first we have to take a few lectures on how to program, and then we can go to AI and how to perform some AI programming, and then whatever is there, whatever complicated things can come forward.
Okay, and it's as a prerequisite, it's advised to have a knowledge of Python. Is that the main language of AI?
So yeah, we can do it in Python. Python is one of the topmost language nowadays for AI. And the second one, which neurosurgeons will be more interested, will be in R language. So both of them we can work around. But as like any language, we have to first learn the letters and alphabets. So first we have to learn the basics of the Python, how it works, and then we can build words and then sentences like that. We have to move forward step by step.
Yeah, what we can do is we can float out an email, or that anyone interested in the programming behind AI is advised, and we might open a sector of the population that's interested in that. Like, obviously, it's not going to be a lot of neurosurgeons, but you might get some students that are in other fields, but that know that AI is going to apply to all fields, not just neurosurgery.
Yes.
It's going to apply to everything. So they have a universal knowledge of starting programs in AI that they can do. And I mentioned yesterday, would AI, like, I'm interested in analyzing my website. Now, does AI have programs that kind of do that go through the website and perform certain tasks?
Yeah, there are a lot of things you might be interested and see something called as a Selenium. It is a web browser which you can tell, yeah, you can tell him to do something, some task, and it can perform that task for you. So there are a lot of things.
Selenium.com?
Yeah, Selenium S.
Yeah, I'd like to share the
Element
screen.
Selenium.
Can you share the screen and show us
Yeah.
what you mean on the Selenium?
Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah. I don't think Ahmad is going to learn programming, but I don't think I am either. But I could use some easy tools.
So this is a Selenium WebDriver. They are called as it is a category of software.
Selenium.com or .dev, right?
.dev, yeah.
Okay.
But this
Automate browse. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
yeah. So this is one of the basic things which is able to perform and act like a human and perform some task on your website. But this itself requires some kind of programming on the back end to which need to be done. You can do manual things also, with the help of Selenium IDE here, which is which can by which we can avoid some kind of programming altogether. Uh, and nowadays, some newer things are coming which are able to drive this Selenium by itself, and we don't need to program that part also. So there are a lot of things if we search and go on this things like there's automation things, then all these things are automated nowadays. The Selenium itself is automated. Although it is automizing your browser, now for that automation also the AI models are there. So we can go here and see and explore this sponsors Avo automation and all, which will be able to identify this kind of things.
Oh, okay. So if someone wanted to say automate looking for the latest neurosurgery news on subdural hematomas, say, that would be easily done. Have it
Yeah, yeah,
automated so that any news at all about subdural hematomas, any research would be
yeah.
you can search for that.
I can show you this something that ChatGPT is there. You must be knowing it is able to perform this task now and now itself. Like if we ask him,
Yeah, I'd like to
what are
see it
the,
in action. I like to see it in action.
yeah, like if you ask him what are the recent published papers in uh, acute subdural hematoma. So
Oh, I see. It does a search for whatever. Yeah.
yeah, it will. This is not the thing. I have to restart it.
Do you use GPT a lot? Do you use ChatGPT a lot?
Yeah, I use it a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like many things can be performed on this. There is something wrong with it.
That's okay. I understand. Uh, and oh, but you use Bard too, huh?
Yeah, both of the models.
BARD.com. Oh, BRRD.google.com.
Yeah.
Now that is a Microsoft or is that what is Bard?
Bard is of Google. You can just
Google.
directly type on your browser bard.google.com and it will be
Okay.
able to search for you.
It performs essentially the same task as GPT.
Yeah, almost same task.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to show us that or you want to go? Okay.
Yeah, yes, we can move on.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
We'll check out Bard. We'll check out selenium.dev. And could you flash your email on there in case someone wants to get in touch with you for private work? You just put it in the chat there. Okay, very good. Okay. Well, Shane, thank you very much for your time. Good luck in your surgery tomorrow. And we'll see you at a webcast on Tuesday at 6:30 India time.
Yeah, 6:30 India time.
6:30 India time. Okay, very good.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll stop recording. Hang around.